Hey guys, today we're going to do some maintenance on my 90 horsepower Mercury outboard. This is the first year maintenance. You should do it, after first year or 100 hours, somewhere around there. It's going to cover your oil change, your oil filter change, inline fuel filter. We're also going to do some gear lube, and then we're going to lubricate some of the lubrication points on the outboard. So I'll go through everything you need to buy before you get started, and then we'll get into it. For this project, you're going to first need 5.5 quarts of the marine grade oil. This is 10W30 from Quicksilver. You're supposed to only use Quicksilver or Mercury, so just be careful you get marine grade oil. You'll need your oil filter, your inline fuel filter. These are your drain screws from the gear lube box. There's your gear lube with a pump. Prop wrench, I believe we're going to use the 1 1/16 size. This is your grease and a grease gun. And then to make things easier, I have a filter and a tube that fits onto your drain for your oil and your oil pan. And then to access some of these things, you're going to need your ratchet set. First thing we're going to do here is use our 1/16 prop nut, and we're going to remove the prop so we can get to the gear case. Best thing to do usually here is just prop the piece of wood in between your prop and the anti-cavitation plate and give you something to pull against. Alright, now we can pull the prop off. I'm just going to be careful not to lose a couple things on the top here. Okay, we're going to pop this off next. May need a screwdriver if it's on there a little tight. So with that off, you can see the shaft seal, and you just want to look and make sure there's no damage or there's nothing stuck in there. This is usually where people get fishing line stuck. Mine looks all right. So the drain for the gear lube is this 10mm socket edge here. You could also use a screwdriver. I think I'm going to go with the 10mm socket. Alright, so once it's loose, now we're going to get our pan ready and we're going to start trimming it down. So now that this is loose, I'm going to go ahead and trim the motor down to let it drain. I realize my big oil pan is not going to fit under here, I just don't have enough clearance. So I'm going to catch it in this plastic bin here. Now to help this drain a little faster, we're going to come over with a screwdriver to this vent here, and we're just going to loosen it and allow that to get some air behind it and come drain a little faster. And you'll see now it's coming out a little bit more. So while the gear lube is draining, we're going to go up here and start draining the oil. So we're going to take our tube and we're going to come over to the drain outlet, which isn't as easy as it looks to put on with one hand. We're going to connect our tube to that and we're going to start draining the oil. Okay, so now with our tube ready to go in our pan, we're going to take a 5/8 wrench and we're going to slowly open up this drain. Whew, it's tight. Alright, so you're going to start loosening until you see oil. Okay, there we go. Next, we're going to take our oil filter pliers and we're going to take off the oil filter. It was on there really tight, but I beat it up pretty good, but I got it off, I think. Okay. Okay, so while the oil is still draining, we removed our oil filter. We're now going to replace the inline fuel filter. It's pretty easy to get to. There's just a clip on either side that holds that in. So I'm going to grab the new one and now we'll get the old one out. So there's a red tab here. We're going to push the red tab in. And we're going to pull the filter out. Lift it up. And we're going to do the same on the other side. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take the new fuel filter. Make sure we have the right direction. There's an arrow. So you want the arrow to go from the fuel tank to the engine. So let's make sure we're in the right direction there. Pretty simple to do. All right, now it's time to put the new oil filter on. It's always a good idea to take a little bit of oil and rub it on this seal just to lubricate it a little bit. Get it tight and then just like a quarter turn more. It's a good idea too when you're done here, just go ahead and put the date on your filter so you know the last time you serviced it. You gotta know the date though. Pro tip, know the date. Looks like the oil is just about done draining, so what I'm going to do is tighten this up. Tube. So that gear lube is still draining, so now we're going to go ahead, now that we have our oil drain closed back up, we'll come on back to the oil tank and take this yellow cap off and fill her up. Take this cap off here. So any funnel will work, but I purchased one of these with the screw cap on it, so it's got some threads and it actually screws on. Just makes life a little easier. Okay, we're going to start filling her up. There is a sticker on the front of this Mercury outboard that shows you all the information you need for this maintenance, and it does tell you how many quarts of oil, which in this case is 5.5 quarts. All right, now that we're topped off, we're going to go ahead and while that lube still drains a little bit slow, we're going to hit our lubrication points. So next we are going to be adding some marine grease to some of the little ports here on the tilt and trim. I think I just learned these are called Zerk fittings. I think that's right, where you can use a grease gun and add some more marine grease. There's 3 parts here that we're gonna connect our grease gun to and add a little grease, so we're gonna do that now. All right, first port we're gonna hit right here. If you can figure out how to work these things. And we should see some grease coming out of the seam here when it's full. Oh, there we go. It's probably hard for you to see, but it's coming out of this little seam up top, so that's probably good. All right, on to the next one. See, it already came out right there. That's good. And the last spot is right here in the front. Okay, so now that our gear lube is basically done draining, we're going to take our new gear lube pump, and it's got a threaded end here, so we're going to fill it from the bottom. You always want to fill it from the bottom until it overflows from this side overflow vent here. So I'm going to see if I can thread this on here. Okay, we're just going to fill it until we see it start to bubble out of the top vent here. Alright, so you do have a little bit coming out. I'm just going to pump it 1 or 2 more times just to really let it flush. I can tell that that's all clean coming out of there. So that's good. So now we're going to put the plug back on this side. Pay careful attention to this seal. I'm actually reusing the original seal. You can buy replacement, which is a good idea really, but this is the very first service on this motor and it looks like it's in good shape. So I'm going to leave it on there. Tighten that up nice and good. Okay, we're going to take this guy off of here. Okay, now we're going to take our 10mm socket and put on the bolt from the front. Again, just take a quick look at the seal. Looks just fine. It's also a good idea while you're here to take a look at this ring here. It looks like it's in good shape, but sometimes these do break. So as long as it looks like there's no cracks, it's not broken, all those 4 tabs are there. So there's 4 tabs that hold it in. This is where the exhaust comes out, I believe. So that's something that could need service, but mine looks okay right now. Next, we're ready to put the prop back on the prop shaft. I'm going to tilt up just a little bit. What we're going to do first is put some grease on here. You want to hit these tines here, and then you want to get some around where there's a nut that seats on that, I think. We're just going to get some around here on this tapered part. So this washer goes on first, flat end towards the back. I'm going to remove this little clip that we balanced on the top when we removed the prop. And we're going to go same direction. This side towards the motor. Get those splines lined up. Next, we're going to take this piece from the top here, and there's 2 tabs that this lines up with. That goes right there. That kind of grips the prop nut on the sides too. Now we can put the prop nut back on. Same thing as before, only in reverse. If you want to jam a piece of wood up there, it'll make it easier on you. I imagine if you're really manly, you could also brace yourself against it. Okay, she's back on. So last, you can bend these 2 tabs back onto the lock nut. Helps to keep it from getting loose. And for the last step, we're going to level our motor again. And then we're going to check our oil level. And we want it to be right in the middle of that zone marked there. It looks pretty good. So that's it. We're done. If you followed along from the beginning, you've now completed your 100-hour or 1-year service on your Mercury Outboard. It's not that difficult. It's pretty simple to do with just a few tools. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll catch you on the next one.